The alarm clock screamed at 6 a.m., but Jake didn't move. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling of his small apartment in Houston, Texas. The same ceiling he had stared at for months. Bills were piling up on his kitchen table, his phone screen was full of job-rejected emails, and his energy was gone. He had come to America 3 years ago, full of dreams. He thought success would come quickly, that if he worked hard, everything would fall into place. But now, at 28, he felt stuck. Every day felt the same: wake up, scroll through social media, compare himself to others, and then tell himself, tomorrow, I'll start again. That tomorrow never came. One morning, while walking to his part-time job at a small cafe, Jake saw an old man sitting on a park bench feeding pigeons. The man was wearing a baseball cap that said "Never Too Late." For some reason, those words hit Jake deep inside. He slowed down, stopped, and looked at the old man for a few seconds. Something inside him whispered, "You're wasting your life." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He thought about his younger self, the boy who dreamed of becoming a teacher, the one who used to read motivational books and talk about helping others learn English and grow. What happened to that fire? Where did it go? As he lay awake, he realized something: he had been living on autopilot, letting fear and laziness control his choices. The old man's hat wasn't just a coincidence. It was a message. The next morning, Jake looked in the mirror and said aloud, "I don't know where to start, but I'm not wasting my life anymore." And that's where his real story began. The next morning, Jake woke up before the alarm. The sun was just rising over the rooftops of Houston, painting the sky gold and orange. For the first time in months, he felt something different, not happiness exactly, but purpose. He made himself a cup of coffee and sat by the window. Normally, he would open his phone and scroll through social media. But this time, he opened YouTube and searched for how to change your life. The first video that appeared was titled "Start Small, Stay Consistent." A calm voice spoke, "You don't need to do everything today. You just need to begin. The smallest step in the right direction can change your entire life." Those words stayed with him all morning. Jake decided to do one simple thing: create a routine. He took an old notebook from his shelf and wrote on the first page, "Day 1, don't waste your life." Underneath, he made a list of: wake up early, exercise for 15 minutes, read something in English, write one motivational quote, smile at one stranger. It looked simple. Almost too simple. But he decided to try. That day, he followed the list. He ran around the block, even though his legs hurt. He read one page from an English self-help book called The Power of Habit. He smiled at an older woman who came into the cafe, and she smiled back. When he came home that night, he felt tired, but proud. He opened his notebook and wrote, "I did it. It's small, but it's something. Maybe this is how it starts." Days passed. Then a week. Jake didn't change overnight, but something inside him began to grow: confidence. He realized that motivation isn't a feeling, it's a choice you repeat every day. One evening, while closing the cafe, his co-worker Maria noticed Jake's new energy. "Jake, you've been different lately," she said. "What happened?" He smiled and replied, "I just stopped waiting for the perfect moment. I decided to start, even if it's small." Maria nodded thoughtfully. "That's how everything begins," she said, and for the first time in years, Jake felt hope, real hope, that maybe he could rebuild his life, one small step at a time. A few weeks passed, and Jake's small habits started to change his days. He was still working at the cafe, still living in his small apartment, but something inside him had shifted. His mornings now began with reading, his evenings ended with writing short reflections in his notebook. But one night, as he sat on his bed, he felt a new thought growing in his mind: what if I could help others do this too? It sounded crazy at first. Who was he to help anyone? He was still struggling himself. But that idea didn't leave him. It followed him to work, to the gym, even in his dreams. One afternoon at the cafe, a young man came in, tired, eyes heavy, same look Jake once had. He ordered a black coffee and sat silently, scrolling on his phone. Jake saw himself in that man. When Jake brought his coffee, he said quietly, "Rough day." The man looked up, surprised. "Yeah, same as always," he sighed. Jake smiled softly. I used to feel that way every day. It gets better when you start doing something just for you. The man nodded but didn't say much. Still, something about that short moment lit a spark in Jake. He realized words could change people, even small ones. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about it. He opened his laptop, went to YouTube, and created a new channel, English with Purpose. He had no camera, no fancy microphone, just his phone. He recorded his first video in his kitchen, with coffee mugs and books in the background. His voice trembled as he spoke. Hi everyone. My name is Jake. I'm not a teacher or a coach, just someone who's trying to build a better life. I want to share my journey and maybe help others learn English through motivation. Because sometimes, learning a language isn't just about grammar. It's about believing you can change. He uploaded it, hesitated for a moment, and clicked post. Then he sat in silence, heart racing. No likes. No views, but deep inside, Jake felt proud, because he had done something brave. The next morning, before leaving for work, he checked his phone again. There was one comment under his video. It said, "Your words helped me today. Please don't stop." Jake smiled. That one sentence meant everything. For the first time, he understood, his voice mattered, and that was only the beginning. A month passed since Jake posted his first video. His channel, English with Purpose, slowly grew, not fast, but steady. 10 subscribers. Then 30. Then 75. Every new comment made him smile. People wrote things like, "Your voice gives me hope. I'm learning English again because of you. Please make more videos." Jake felt alive. For the first time in years, he was doing something that truly mattered to him, but not everyone liked his work. One evening, after finishing his shift at the cafe, he opened YouTube to check his latest video. It was called "Don't Give Up on Yourself." It had 500 views, his best so far. But when he scrolled down, he saw a new comment that froze him. This guy's English isn't even perfect. Who is he trying to teach? What a joke. Jake stared at the screen. His stomach turned. He knew his English wasn't perfect, it was his second language. But reading those words hurt more than he expected. He closed his laptop and sat in silence. All his old doubts came rushing back. Maybe they're right, he thought. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should stop before I embarrass myself. That night, he didn't record. He didn't read. He didn't write in his notebook. He just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again, the same ceiling from part 1. The next morning, his co-worker Maria noticed he was quiet. "You okay, Jake?" she asked. He forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." But Maria didn't believe him. After work, she stopped him. "Jake," she said gently, "you've inspired me for weeks. But today you look defeated. What happened?" He sighed and told her about the comment. Maria listened, then said something he would never forget. "You said your goal was to help people, right? Then focus on them, not on the one person who doesn't believe in you. If you let one negative voice stop you, you'll never hear all the people your words could change." Her words hit him like sunlight through clouds. That night, Jake opened his notebook again and wrote, "Lesson of the day: people will always talk. But purpose is louder than criticism." Then he turned on his camera and recorded a new video, his most honest one yet. "I almost quit today," he said softly into the lens. "Someone told me I wasn't good enough. And for a moment, I believed them. But then I remembered why I started. Not for likes or views, but to remind others, and myself, that progress matters more than perfection." He uploaded the video before he could change his mind. By morning, hundreds of people had watched it. Comments poured in, messages of support, gratitude, and shared struggles. One said, "Your honesty helps me learn English and believe in myself. Please don't stop." Jake smiled through tired eyes. The hate still existed, but now he understood something deeper. Criticism can't kill a purpose that's real. The days after Jake's honest video were unlike anything he had experienced before. His phone buzzed with notifications, comments, messages, emails from people all around the world. A student from Brazil wrote, "Your story makes me want to speak English confidently." A woman from India said, "I thought I was too old to learn, but your video gave me hope." Even a young man from Egypt commented, "You make learning English feel real, not like school, but like life." Jake read every message, one by one. He realized something powerful. His weakness had become his strength. Before, he used to hide his accent, afraid people would judge him. Now, he embraced it. His accent told a story of courage, mistakes, and persistence. He began to record more videos, each one more authentic than the last. He spoke about discipline, about facing fear, about learning English through daily life. Sometimes he recorded outside, in the park, where he used to see the old man with the never too late hat. One evening, while filming there, he noticed that same old man again. Jake smiled, walked up, and said, "Hey, I think you inspired me once." The man looked confused, so Jake told him about the hat, the cafe, and how that simple message, "never too late," had changed everything. The man laughed softly and said, "Well, son, that hat's been with me for years. My wife bought it before she passed. She used to say those words every morning, 'It's never too late to begin again.'" Jake felt chills. "She was right," he said quietly. The man nodded. "She always was." When Jake got home, he wrote in his notebook, "Pain can break you, or it can build you. The difference is what you do with it." He turned that sentence into his next video titled "Turn Pain into Power." In the video, he spoke directly to his viewers. We all feel lost sometimes. We all face rejection and fear. But remember, pain isn't the end. It's just energy waiting to be turned into growth. Every mistake you make is a message, you're still trying. That video went viral, thousands watched it. Jake's channel exploded overnight, not because he was perfect, but because he was real. Emails from English learners, teachers, and even motivational speakers started to pour in. People wanted interviews, collaborations, and podcasts, but Jake didn't care about fame. He only cared about staying true to his purpose, helping people believe that it's never too late to change, learn, or begin again. The morning after his video, "Turn Pain into Power," went viral, Jake's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He had thousands of new subscribers, hundreds of messages, and even a few interview requests from small podcasts. For a moment, he just stared at the screen, speechless. All those nights when he felt invisible, all those days when he doubted himself, now, people were calling him inspiring. He didn't feel famous. He felt grateful, and a little scared. At the cafe, Maria grinned when she saw him walk in. "Look who's the local celebrity now," she teased. Jake laughed. "Come on, I'm just a guy with a phone and a dream." But inside, he knew things were changing. A week later, he received an email from an education startup based in California. They wanted him to host an online class called English Through Motivation. They said they'd pay him more in 1 month than he made at the cafe in 3. Jake stared at the email for minutes. This was his chance, the kind of opportunity he used to dream about. But fear whispered again, "You're not a real teacher. You don't have a degree in education. You'll mess this up." He almost deleted the email. Almost, then he remembered his notebook. He flipped to the first page, the one that said, "Day 1, don't waste your life." He smiled, took a deep breath, and typed back, "I'd love to do it. Let's talk." 2 weeks later, Jake found himself in a studio in Los Angeles, sitting in front of a camera crew. Bright lights, microphones, people with headsets, it all felt unreal. "Are you ready?" the producer asked. Jake's heart pounded. His palms were sweating. He wanted to run, but then he remembered something Maria had told him months ago: "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real." He looked at the camera, smiled, and began speaking. "Hi everyone. I used to be afraid to speak English. I used to think my mistakes made me weak. But I learned that mistakes are how you grow. So today, let's learn together, not just English, but confidence." The session went beautifully. The crew clapped when he finished. Jake felt light, like he had stepped into the life he was meant to live. That night, walking along the streets of Los Angeles, he looked up at the bright city lights and whispered, "This is only the beginning." But as his channel and fame grew, new pressures began to appear: the sponsors, deadlines, people telling him how to speak, what to say, what not to say. Slowly, Jake started to feel something he hadn't felt in months, stress. He had achieved his dream, but was he losing his purpose? At first, success felt incredible. Jake's videos were reaching millions. His classes were full. Brands wanted to work with him, podcasts invited him for interviews, and people stopped him on the street to say, "Hey, you changed my life." But over time, something inside him began to fade. The more his audience grew, the more pressure he felt to keep them happy. Every video had to be better than the last. Every sentence had to sound perfect. Every mistake brought criticism. The freedom that once inspired him now felt like a cage. He spent long nights editing videos, checking comments, watching the numbers rise and fall. He stopped writing in his notebook. He stopped walking in the park. Even Maria noticed during one of their phone calls. "Jake, you sound tired," she said. "I'm just busy," he replied, but deep down, he knew the truth. He was losing the spark that started it all. One night, after finishing another sponsored video that didn't feel like him, he sat in front of his computer, exhausted. He clicked on one of his old videos, the very first one he ever made, filmed in his tiny kitchen with bad lighting and shaky sound. There he was, younger, nervous, yet full of life. "I want to help people believe they can change," the old Jake said on the screen. Jake stared at his own reflection in the monitor, the version of himself he used to be. He whispered, "Where did that guy go?" The next morning, he couldn't get out of bed. He skipped a meeting. Then two emails piled up. Messages went unanswered. For the first time in over a year, Jake felt completely lost again. Only this time, it was worse, because he had achieved everything he once wanted. That evening, he went for a walk downtown. The city lights sparkled around him, but inside, everything felt dim. He passed a bookstore and saw a group of people inside attending an English conversation class. He stopped and watched through the window. Ordinary people, laughing, learning, helping each other speak. Something about that scene hit him deeply. He remembered why he had started, not for fame, not for sponsors, but to connect, to teach, to inspire. He walked into the store. The teacher looked surprised. "Aren't you Jake from YouTube?" Jake smiled awkwardly. "Yeah, but tonight, I'm just Jake. Can I join?" The teacher laughed. "Of course. Grab a chair." Jake sat with the group, people from all over the world, learning English together. He listened, laughed, corrected small mistakes, and for the first time in months, felt alive again. That night, when he returned home, he opened his dusty notebook and wrote, "I lost my spark chasing perfection. But purpose isn't about numbers, it's about people." And with that, the old Jake, the real Jake, began to return. The next morning, Jake woke up feeling calm, a peace he hadn't felt in months. No emails. No deadlines. No camera, just sunlight streaming through the blinds and the quiet hum of morning in Los Angeles. He brewed coffee and opened his notebook again. On the first page, he read the old words, "Day 1, don't waste your life." He smiled. He had come a long way since that first day in Houston, but somehow, the meaning felt new again. Jake decided to take a break from filming. He posted a short message on his channel, "Hey everyone. I need to step back for a while, not because I'm quitting, but because I want to remember why I started. Thank you for understanding." The comments were full of love and support. His followers understood. Some even shared their own stories of burnout, pressure, and rediscovery. For the next few weeks, Jake lived quietly. He walked to the park every morning, talked to strangers, and spent hours reading, not for content, but for himself. He started visiting that same bookstore every Thursday night to join the English conversation class. People there didn't treat him like a celebrity. They treated him like a friend. One woman from Mexico told him, "Jake, your videos helped me speak English at work." A man from Korea said, "Your story made me start learning again after years of fear." Each time, Jake felt a warmth in his chest, the kind of feeling that no amount of money or fame could replace. One evening, after class, the teacher, a kind older woman named Ms. Harper, said, "You have a gift, Jake. Have you ever thought about teaching in person?" Jake laughed. "Me? A real teacher?" Ms. Harper smiled. "You already are. You just don't have a classroom yet." Those words stayed with him all night. He sat at his desk and began sketching an idea, a small space where people could come to learn English through motivation. A place for dreamers, workers, immigrants, and anyone who felt lost. He wrote at the top of the page, "The Purpose Project." He didn't know how or when it would happen, but he knew this: it wasn't about going viral anymore. It was about going real. He called Maria that night. "Guess what?" he said. "What?" "I think I'm starting something new, something real." Maria laughed. "You sound like the old Jake again." He smiled. No, he said softly. I sound like myself. That night, he closed his notebook and whispered to himself before sleeping sometimes, to move forward, you have to go back to where your heart began. For weeks, Jake couldn't stop thinking about the idea, the purpose project. Even the name gave him energy. He started small, just a simple idea in his notebook, some sketches, and a dream. But dreams have a way of growing when you feed them with action. Jake found a small, empty space for rent near the cafe where he used to work in Houston. It wasn't fancy, cracked paint, old floors, a flickering light, but when he walked inside, he smiled. He could see it already, a whiteboard, a circle of chairs, books on the shelves, a coffee machine in the corner, and people learning, laughing, believing again. It felt right. He signed the papers with the last of his savings. It was risky and maybe foolish, but Jake didn't care. He had learned that sometimes, faith is stronger than fear, and Maria came by to help him clean. You really did it, she said, holding a paint roller. Jake grinned. Yeah. Welcome to the Purpose Project. They spent days painting walls, fixing lights, and decorating with motivational quotes Jake had written over the past year. On one wall, in big bold letters, he painted, "It's never too late to begin again." When the space was ready, Jake posted on his YouTube channel, "Hey everyone, I'm back, but not just online. I'm opening a real place called the Purpose Project here in Houston, Texas. It's for anyone who wants to learn English, build confidence, and believe in themselves again. Everyone is welcome." Within hours, messages poured in. People from the community wanted to visit. Some offered to volunteer, others donated books or chairs. Even a few of his online followers flew from other states to meet him in person. The first class was small, 8 people, from 5 different countries. They sat in a circle, nervous but excited. Jake looked around the room and felt his throat tighten. He began softly, "When I started learning English, I was scared. I thought my voice didn't matter. But today, I see that every accent, every mistake, every story matters." Then he smiled. This isn't just an English class. It's a place to grow, together. As they practiced English phrases, shared their dreams, and even laughed at their mistakes, something powerful filled the room. Connection. At the end of the night, a young woman named Sarah came up to Jake. "Thank you," she said. "I almost gave up on learning English. But tonight, I feel alive again." Jake's eyes watered. He realized that his biggest success wasn't the views or fame, it was this. Real people. Real lives. Real change. That night, after locking up the classroom, Jake stood in the quiet room, surrounded by the smell of fresh paint and possibility. He whispered, This is what I was meant to do." And deep in his heart, he knew the Purpose Project wasn't just a classroom. It was a second chance for him and everyone who walked through its doors. The Purpose Project had grown beyond anything Jake ever imagined. What started as a small classroom now filled every evening with people from all walks of life, students, workers, parents, dreamers, all learning English and rebuilding confidence together. On one wall hung dozens of photos, smiling faces, graduation certificates, handwritten notes that read things like, "You changed my life and now I believe in myself." Jake stood quietly before class one evening, looking at all the pictures. His eyes landed on one small photo, the very first group he ever taught, the one with 8 students. He smiled softly. He thought about everything that had brought him here, the sleepless nights, the fear of failure, the hateful comments, the burnout, and the rediscovery. Every challenge had shaped him, just like English had shaped his voice. That night's class was special. The students didn't know it yet, but Jake had prepared something different. After their usual lesson, he said, "Tonight, I don't want to teach grammar or vocabulary. I want to teach one word: gratitude." The class fell silent. Jake continued, "Gratitude is what turns pain into strength. It's what reminds you how far you've come. When I first came to America, I was lost. I failed, I doubted myself, and I almost gave up. But I learned something: you don't waste your life when you use it to lift others." He paused, his voice breaking slightly. "You all gave my life meaning again. Thank you." The class clapped. Some students stood to hug him. Others wiped away tears. For the first time, Jake realized he wasn't just a teacher or a YouTuber, he was part of a community built on courage and kindness. After class, as the last student left, Jake stayed behind to clean up. On the table, he found a small note left behind by Sarah, the young woman who once told him she had almost given up. It said, "Jake, you taught me English, but more importantly, you taught me to believe. Thank you for giving me a second chance." Jake held the note in his hands for a long time. Later that night, he walked to the park, the same park where he had once seen the old man wearing the hat that said "Never Too Late." He sat on the same bench, looked up at the stars, and whispered, "You were right. It's never too late to begin again." Then, pulling out his phone, he recorded one final message for his channel, not a fancy video, just his voice under the night sky. If you're watching this, remember, your life isn't over just because you're lost. You don't need to be perfect to inspire others. You just need to be real. So don't waste your life waiting. Start small. Start scared. But start. He smiled, hit upload, and looked out at the quiet park. For the first time in a long, long while, Jake didn't feel like he was chasing anything. He was living, fully, purposefully, freely, and deep inside, he knew he hadn't just learned English. He had learned life.